We're going to adjourn to closed session. Wait, do we have any comments, public comments out there? Closed session? Seeing none, we're going to adjourn to closed session.
For notes.
Oh, thanks.
So when you can't sleep tonight, y'all.
All right.
Okay, I'm going to bring this meeting back to order. We have no announcements from closed session, so please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call. Everyone's here except Mr. Garcia. Notice to the public. Any members of the public wishing to address the governing board on a topic within the subject matter jurisdiction of the district but not on the agenda may do so at the public comment period identified in this agenda. By law, subjects not on the agenda cannot be acted upon by the board except to briefly respond, clarify, or refer to staff for review and presentation at a future meeting. The board president will recognize you for public comment on matters on the agenda at the appropriate time. Okay, correspondence?
There's none.
None? Okay, consent agenda.
I have on the consent agenda, actually, that 6A and 6B, just to let you know that those are people that resigned and the people that were hired, just so your information. And then on page 11 starts the minutes from the last board meeting that I need approval or changes. And I have draft because they're not approved yet, but if you approve them, I have a clean copy for John and Guy to sign.
All right, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move.
All right.
I'll second.
All right, any other comments, public comments? Okay,
Was that, Melissa, you made the first and you second?
Yeah.
okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, public comment. Any public comments? No? Okay. Okay, guests and presentations.
I'd like to introduce you to Derek, who's here to make a presentation. I did bring his packet, his firm's packet last meeting, and you asked that he come so you can talk to him.
Great, thank you.
Excellent. Thanks, Roxanne. Well, good evening, everyone. Derek Obrecht, JK Architecture and Engineering, partner with the firm, and I'm here today to kind of just, first off, probably just introduce a little bit about our firm and kind of why I'm here, and then as well as answer any questions that you may have relative to that scope of work and proposal that was kind of presented to you relative to the Dixon Public Library. So our firm is kind of located out of Auburn, California. My area of geography is from Bay Area to Redding and to Reno. There's only so much work you can do in your backyard. I'm actually fortunate enough to focus extensively on public and civic architecture. So public libraries, recreation facilities, educational facilities is my passion. I initially got into architecture thinking I wanted to build buildings, and then I quickly began to find out that what really matters the most and what's most fun is to create environments that create community and support learners, and within libraries, opportunities for children and lifelong learners and seniors and program spaces. And that's kind of, I think, what has brought kind of me here to you guys today. I believe it was somebody from the library that actually had reached out, because the library has obviously gone through a period of looking at how do we leverage the asset that exists within the library, from the old Carnegie to the series of additions that have occurred over time, and realizing that there's some good bones at work there, but there's the necessity for some improvements. And I believe that somebody had actually found us through the work we had done over at Davis Library. So I think it was actually Steve that reached out to me at one point in time and said, can you come down and talk to us? We've talked to a lot of architects, but it doesn't appear that the architects we're talking to have an understanding of how to design libraries. So kind of just came down, just chatted, and he goes, you know what? Nobody has talked to us about the notion of getting our arms around what our vision is for our library. And I said, well, that's the place we need to start. Because we understand that reception or children's library or adult areas, they all need improvements. But the question is what's the goal of the whole broader plan? I said, let me go back and kind of dig into this a little bit more. So we kind of went back and put some thought together as to how we would approach this, particularly because we always find it best to help vision a project for our clients. And once we understand that vision, we can understand the parts and the pieces that essentially can be modernized, transformed, built over time. None of that really makes any sense if you don't have a clear picture of what the puzzle pieces are trying to build towards. So the scope of work ahead of you today essentially is what we see would be the first step in essentially moving the conversation forward about what is the vision for the Dixon Public Library as it relates to fulfilling all of our needs. And then within that vision, we'd also begin to identify costs, construction costs, soft costs, total project costs, so that you, the board, can then essentially begin to make informed decisions as to how you want to continue to improve that facility over time moving forward. So that's kind of where we are today, was that notion that we see a tremendous opportunity to come in and help understand your vision, the vision of the community. We actually had a little preliminary working session, kind of just in an excitement of helping this community with that library. Met with library staff a few weeks ago and began to kind of get some of those parts and pieces as to what's working, what's not working. And we also began to talk about some of the trends. We do a lot of public library work, and we also research a lot of public libraries as well across the nation. So it was fun working session to kind of share some of the best practices and trends that we're seeing. And then from there, what does it mean to this community? And what does it mean to that library? So I think we've got some good excitement kind of going. And so our approach is to kind of look at we go through an imagine phase, which looks at that vision, trends, and goals. We go through a design phase, which essentially says we know we've got an existing facility. We've got the Carnegie that resides on the historical registry. We've got a series of additions that have come in over time. How do we leverage these existing assets? Because we always find it best to start and kind of take our library and just dump it upside down in concept, and then kind of reprogram from within. And then from there, if we begin to realize that we have additional needs that can't be fit within that square footage, then we start to kind of look at the notion of, do we need additions? I mean, sometimes architects want to come in and just make things bigger, just because sometimes it feels selfish. The reality is let's start with what we have from an operational standpoint, from an efficiency standpoint. And if we can accomplish it within our existing square footage, then we'll identify what those pieces need to be. And then we'll kind of go through the create phase, which is create that vision and that foundation for a master plan that begins to support projects that can be phased in over time. So that kind of at a high level outlines the proposal that was kind of brought forward to you guys tonight.
When was it you did the Davis Public Library work, approximately?
So Davis would have been, let's see here, that would have been 07, 08 completion. So, yeah, projects here, just for your knowledge, most local would be Winters Library, the Mary Stevens Davis Library, City of Lincoln, 12 Bridges Library. Recently just completed the Tehama Public Library, as well as we actually were brought down to San Diego for the Skyline Library.
I was going to ask you about that one because it's has the picture on the
cover.
Here, so that was a bit of a trek for you.
It was, but for us, we find clients that share our same passion, and travel is just the fun part about it.
Okay.
Other questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Catherine and Heather and Susan went to visit the Winters Library.
Oh, good.
And so they enjoyed their field trip, and they found lots of things to love about the Winters Library. And so I just wanted to do that. And the next agenda item is for approval of the contract to move forward of $27,930.
So actually, I do have one question actually that just came to my mind.
Of Derek or me?
Of Derek, actually. So, I mean, this is the fee that's going to get us to, you know, obviously being able to do those repairs, and renovations. But also, will you guys show the best way to break it down into phases, if we need to break it down into phases as part of this plan?
Absolutely. So this essentially is a master plan for the library. And the goal in that is, we've done a lot of master plan work, and 11 times out of 10, you're going to define something that's greater than what you can afford. So we always go in with the notion of, how do we think about understanding their needs and their goals, and when we come around to identifying pricing, breaking it up into what would logically be areas of phasing and of improvement. So absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, we want to make sure that the vision is achieved, and we create those small bites to actually make it manageable
Okay,
along the way.
okay.
Yeah.
Perfect, thank you. Thank you for answering my question.
Okay, any more questions? Public comments? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion, I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, the motion passes. Okay, perfect. The next item is the Dixon Adult Literacy Program, and that is on page 21. And Pam Griffey wrote this up for you. And it's going great guns, and it's part of Measure L as well, where they recommend that you have adult literacy. And so they have 17 mentors now. They're going to have another training soon. In the afternoons, about 3 o'clock, it begins with the mentors meeting with their students. There's a wait list of about 20 students who want to participate. So it's very active, and I don't know if you know Pam Griffey. She's part of the Friends of Library, but they're doing a tremendous job. We ordered some materials with a donation that we talked about last month, and so they're real happy, and so the mentors have workbooks to lead their students. So it's a consistent program. Not each mentor is using whatever. They're using identified materials. And so I don't know if you had a chance to read through the report, but it's, if you'd like to be a mentor, there's going to be training in October. So that's just for information only. And then the summer reading program, Mr. Tinder has been sick, out with the flu and some other issues. So he submitted a summer reading program report for you. And there were 224 children were in the early literacy program. 82 children completed their reading log, and parents were allowed to register 6-year-old. And so he has the age and the readers. On page 24, he has 6 through 12, and that group was 551 children, which is significant. And 190 of those 551 children reached their goal. And the parents were allowed to register 5-year-olds if their level was school age, if their reading level was school age. So we've just gone down from adult literacy, you know, and learning to read, to 5-year-olds if they're reading. So, and then the teen component, where there were 72 tweens, 12 to 18, and So there were prizes, Carl Juniors, books, so all that stuff. And then on special programs on page 26, you can see that the special programs, Python Run, Animal Show, Bree Crabtrees. So there was a special program almost every week. And the Dixon Public Library, Dixon Unified School District provided lunch for those students. And that's just tremendous. Lunch at the library for the third year in a row.
I have a picture of my daughter holding a big yellow banana python.
Oh.
It was gigantic and really
Did
gross.
she have fun?
She did. She liked that one. Yes.
Okay, so if you turn to page 27, that shows our results from the previous year. And you can see that there was a difference in early literacy, up 126 students.
Great
You can read
growth.
this, but it was,
Yeah.
a tremendous increase, so.
So can I ask you a question real quick?
Sure.
Did we do anything different that you know of? Or maybe we can go back and ask Jim if there
Yeah,
was more advertising? Like what did we do to boost
I
it?
think there's a different theme every year, and just excitement. I think the lunch program brings a lot of students. Having parents being able to help, partner with their child helps. So,
I think we may have done more social media outreach too. I'm
Yeah,
not
that-
sure. I'm sure.
Because we had lunch last year too.
Yeah.
And that program was still going.
Well, remember,
so-
we also, last year registered kids at open house at 2 of the elementary schools. So, we registered kids for library cards at 2 of the elementary schools last year. We didn't get to do it this year, but that was something that was new as well, so.
Maybe that.
although Mr. Tinder has gone to several back-to-school nights.
Oh, good, good.
And he had two classrooms today in the library.
Oh, good, good.
So he is reaching out to the school district.
Great.
I do wonder, there was a little growth in the teen program, but
Yes,
not
not
like there
much.
were. I wonder maybe at some of your staff meetings if you can ask any ideas that
Okay.
people might have, especially the new student employees and stuff. Maybe someone will have an idea we
Okay.
haven't.
I will
And I almost wonder with the teens too, if there's something that we could do like a year-round something that can help them to be able to encourage them to read year-round. I think that sometimes when kids get to that age, they're not required to read every night for their homework like the elementary school kids. And sometimes they might forget to read. And
Right.
so it'd be awesome if we could figure out some kind of program that's more year-round to encourage them to keep reading.
Okay, a couple things about the teen program. It's Teen Read Week, October 7th through the 13th. And then Mr. Tinder is going to arrange a poetry slam and a comic book con. And average time in planning preparation for libraries is 9 to 12 months. So he is looking at that. And then you can see on page 78 where he has a flyer that we posted, and we sent it out to the middle school
Great.
and the high school. On page 78, 28. I can't even read my own writing.
So will there be, as part of this week, will there be some kind of incentive for the kids?
Yes,
Okay.
there will be. And we just received from Jelly Belly, because I just sent out a thank you note. We received 1,200 packets of Jelly Bellies, so,
That's great.
bring them in.
Yeah.
Can never have too many jelly
Yeah.
bellies.
And can we make sure that we put this on social media too?
Okay.
And I don't know what you guys think about possibly sending something to the newspapers just to promote. It's a
We've
Great
been
way
in
to-
the newspaper quite a bit. Have you
Yeah.
seen we've made Above the Fold?
Wow, impressive,
So that's-
impressive.
So I will reach out to social media and newspaper.
thank you.
Well, I will ask Jim to do that. And then on page 29 through 31, we have the adult program from Catherine. And so the figures are there, and the monthly book club met today in the morning. And so it's going great guns, but you can see in July, week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, and the totals for 718 were down from the totals in 2017. So down a little bit. And then the summer reading program was online registration, tote bag contest. So we're doing what we can.
Great.
Any other questions about the adult services? Okay, well, we'll move on to page 33. And in my contract, it states that I'm supposed to do a state report, Ed Code 18408, and I've attached a email from Janet at Solano County, or State Library, that said that it's no longer pertinent, that we don't do that. But I just wanted to bring it forward so you would have information and not think I wasn't doing it. So
Okay, perfect.
I just wanted to share because it's part of my contract, so.
Thank you.
And then from Bonnie Katz at Solano County, we have a Measure L meeting, and I was asking that I add a day or switch days. And so what I've just, because she needed the RSVP today, what I'd like to do is next week, instead of working Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, because they do need a quorum for the meeting.
Sure.
Okay.
Do you think that's going to pose any problems for you or the library to switch days?
No, because then this will give me a chance to meet with people to set their goals that I haven't been able to capture on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Great.
Okay, great.
And then this way, I'll also be able to meet with friends of the library because they meet on Mondays.
Oh, great.
So on page 35 and 36 is the Measure L report. I don't know that if you've seen this, but it talks about what Measure L, when it passed, what they was supposed to achieve. And one of the things is that it was to increase hours, which we did with Measure B, and then run children, teen, and adult programs, computer training, homework help. We're not doing that. But family literacy and adult programs, which we've started, which I just addressed. And children's story time, and Jim's running 2 of those a week, sometimes 3 in the morning. We've talked about running those in the afternoon as well. So anyway, it's important because the funds are earmarked and we're accountable. So and then at the bottom, I wrote down how we've increased the early literacy program by 36%, the summer reading program by 34%. It's at the bottom of page 35. Teen program by 27%. And we checked out 50,681 items circulated. And we have multiple formats, Hoopla, downloadable, books, magazines, and DVDs, and we continue to partner with the Friends of the Library and adult literacy volunteers. And then on the next page, I have what we're spending the money on, and I put line items that are in the budget. So if you want to follow those line items, you can. You know where I got the figures. So about 68% of the money is being spent on salaries and benefits, and that's line 11110. And 1120 and 1123. But you can see some of the things that we're spending the money on, but we are accountable to the taxpayers, so. And the report is for last year. So next year, it'll be for 18-19. Any questions on that?
Have you
Thank you.
had, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Thank you.
Oh, I was going to say, I'm just kind of wondering the idea of the homework help. I mean, I know the high school offers student homework help. Has there been any comments from the public or anyone, any discussions about whether that would be well received?
To be truthful, I'm not sure how much the staff knew about the requirements of Measure L until I did this report.
Maybe that's something we ought to talk about and consider
Okay.
whether, and if we were to try to institute something like that for what age groups, and how would the people be trained that provided that, and
Homework
where we would
club.
get those funds, but.
But I think we're trying to be more aware of some of what was in the proposition, so we can respond to that and be accountable.
Great, thank you.
So on the next note, because Measure L wants adult literacy and family literacy, we'd like to hire a 5-hour-a-week person to be the liaison between the family literacy, adult literacy, and the library. Right now, Pam Griffey is kind enough to organize that, and it's becoming a lot. She's getting a lot of phone calls, Spanish speaking, and she does not speak Spanish. And as the program grows, she can't accommodate that by herself. And plus, that would be nice for the library to accommodate, find out when people are meeting, because sometimes it does get loud, and we're a quiet library. And so the liaison could organize when and where and set up meeting places and take the phone calls in Spanish for them.
One other thought, and I don't know if this is possible, but are we allowed to use the Miller Building for something like that? I mean, I've had meetings in
We
the
could use
Miller
the ground
Building.
floor.
The
We should be
bottom.
able to use the ground
I
floor.
mean, that's kind of a open space, at least last time I was in it, that it was
Okay.
in, that might be able to be a more quiet area for the rest of the library,
Okay,
for
so,
them to be able to feel like they can talk as much as they
Yeah.
need to.
Still be ADA compliant too.
Yeah, if,
It's on the ground
On the
floor.
yeah, it
ground floor,
only,
yeah,
we,
just
they
on the-
can't, no one can use that upper floor for that,
Right.
yeah.
say the Miller Building, okay, I'll look into that.
So you're thinking, though, this position would be a bilingual position?
Yes.
And they would assist her? Would she still keep doing her voluntary
Well,
activities? Or
she would.
help them take
Yeah,
over?
but it's become way too big for
Mm-hmm.
her as one person to manage.
So at 5 hours a week, what are we talking for the annual budget for that?
I think we have that in the, we figured that out, so let me look at the line items here. About, I have it on page 5 in the 1000s, that matrix in there. I have the third item down in the 1000s, liaison clerk for adult literacy program, Spanish speaking, 4,000.
A year.
Yes.
Okay.
However, I would like to get from Solano County the bilingual fluency test, and anybody that applies would have to take that because we are talking about literacy. And so they must be truly bilingual, read, write, and speak.
Well, and I think that's a good idea for anyone who receives pay that, for that, specific thing, to be able to have some kind of proficiency, so we can account that they truly do know a second language,
Yes.
so.
Okay,
Okay.
so we'll look at that as part of our overall budget, right? That was just a highlighted section.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
okay.
So I did put this for action. I didn't put ayes or noes, but if you feel
So
comfortable.
we need to take action on that
I
now.
recommend approval of an additional 5 hours a week to the library personnel payroll to fund a Spanish-speaking adult family literacy liaison with Measure L funds.
And also, with that, do we have a specific job description of everything that they would be doing? Or maybe you can,
Not yet,
okay,
but it would be clerk pay.
okay.
But then I would look to the other libraries that already have the literacy program and what their liaison is doing.
Okay.
Okay.
So in the future, if it passes, can you just provide that to all of us, please?
Sure.
Thank you.
So are we taking action on that tonight?
That's the request, yeah.
That's- Yeah.
Okay, any other questions? Any public comments? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
The action is to hire a 5-hour literacy coordinator, bilingual literacy coordinator.
Bilingual, yeah.
You can come up and, can you come up if you have a question, come speak in the
Yeah,
microphone?
because you can't address the board unless you get.
I'm sorry, I thought you were just asking for a quick clarification. Come
Yeah.
on up if you have a question.
Yeah. No, that's okay.
You just have to
We
be
just-
recorded for
Yeah.
posterity.
I thought you just didn't hear the motion.
So you were just approving the hire of this person,
It's on page 5 of the packet,
right?
and it says liaison clerk for adult literacy program, Spanish speaking, $4,000. And it's the 1,000 series of the line item in the budget.
Right. So that's what you're voted on
That
and
was the vote,
approved?
Yep,
right?
Okay, thanks. That's
Yep.
what I was asking for.
Okay.
The next item is E. It's National Friends of the Libraries Week, October 21st through the 27th. So I'd like, at the next board meeting on October 11th, to recognize the Friends of the Library.
That'd be great.
That's,
Sure,
okay.
Yeah.
great.
All right, I'll put that on the board agenda. And then you asked me to follow up on the Dixon Public Library Advisory Committee application from the high school student.
Yeah.
I called her 3 times and never got a response, so
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you for trying.
yeah.
you're welcome. So we have ongoing business. You asked at the last meeting that Gina come and present the board, the budget. On page 38 and 39, 39 is last year's budget ending June 18th. And this one, so you can compare the line items, and then she'll answer any of your questions. Oh, okay. So,
We've been trying to.
Yeah. 'Cause I think we got some answers.
Okay.
Any questions about
so I just wanted them to be able
Attorney.
Down, let's get, yeah.
to.
Oh,
June 30th.
right.
And then,
Line by line.
Thank you.
like, Be able to tell us what the things are used for.
Hmm.
Was that?
Hi.
Hi.
I was under the impression that you wanted to know about the budget details for the 18-19 year. Oh,
Yeah, just like what they,
because
I mean,
I don't see that schedule that we approved last year. That's what I was going to talk to, if you had questions about that.
Well, the budget's here though, right? The printout, the fund descriptions?
Those are the actuals.
Uh-huh.
They're not just the budget, those are, I call the actuals.
hold on,
We can talk about them.
hold on. So this page is the actuals, but can we, they're still being adjusted because we're still within that budget, correct?
Say that again, please.
So this page that, I think, is this the page that you said was the actuals? Oh, sorry, page 40. But we're still in this budget, right? And so, it will, some of this, numbers can
page
be
40?
different, right?
Right, so we're still, it hasn't been completely spent because we're still
Yes.
within the budget year?
Okay, yeah. That was my question.
But you can see what we budgeted in the year-to-date actual.
So on the monthly status report, the third column from the left is the budget column. I thought there were amounts in there that you wanted me to tell you what they were made up of. But I'll answer whatever questions I can.
What's in the column that says household expense? What usually gets paid out of that?
Okay, that's a good one. Household expense is the Bell Chemical that cleaned the carpets, the Ready Fresh, the Recologies, a lot of Staples stuff.
And with staple stuff, you're talking about like office supplies?
Yeah, air fresheners, dusters for dusting.
Okay, so there's a separate one for office supplies then?
Office supplies would be files and staples and all that other stuff versus household.
Okay.
So, but as part of this, we have bills, like you said, Recology, that are as part of that. Are there other monthly fees that we have that?
Ready Fresh and Recology are the two monthly ones for household expense. Ready Fresh is the water. And Recology is the, I believe it's the sewer?
Recology's the garbage.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They write sewer on the bill. Maybe there's another one. You're right. That's California Water.
So Ready Fresh, that's,
Like Alhambra or
Bottled
something,
water.
Bottled water?
It's like it used to
Okay,
be
that-
Alhambra,
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay,
and they changed their name to Ready Fresh.
that's great. Water service.
Mm-hmm.
So, but, do things come out of this, like our actual water bill and our actual sewer
No.
bill?
No,
Is
so
that-
if you go down to that monthly status, if you go to the bottom of it. let's
Where it
see.
says utilities and water?
Yes,
Okay.
water is in that line item. I can run through the accounts real quick of the ones that I have some details for, and then take your questions too.
Sure.
So we started off with household expense. Well, first I wanted to go over the salaries. So we have 8 benefited people. A director, 2 librarian 2s, 2 librarian assistant 2s. Those are full-time people, an accounting part-time, librarian 1 part-time, and a library clerk part-time. So we have 3 part-time. And then on the extra help, we have 4 librarian 1s, we have 3 clerks, and we have 5 pages. And all of that's budgeted, just the usual step increases are budgeted. There's no overtime budgeted, and I wanted to speak to the difference of overtime versus above allocated hours. We do have above allocated hours budgeted. We have 40 hours for the accountant person for when we have to work on the annual budget and do the audits. That's extra than the regular weekly duties. And we have 50 hours for the librarian 1 part-time person, and that's for vacation coverage and projects. So those are budgeted above allocated hours.
But we may not always use those, correct? I mean, if we're not having a big project or.
Or
say we're
vacation
not-
coverage, I don't know. I
Or
don't
say
know.
we're not, we're done with all of our audits and,
No, and we do use them.
okay.
We do use them. And the thing is with so I can use the example of me working today. My shift normally is 9 to 3, so that's 6 hours. And then I'm here tonight, let's say I'm here for 2 hours, so that's above allocated hours, those 2. Let's say for whatever reason I had to be here 3 hours. It would be the 6 hours for the 9 to 3, the 2 hours for the above allocated, and 1 hour of overtime,
Okay.
because you have to accommodate the state laws.
Okay.
And with the above allocated hours, only the pension benefit is paid. There's no accrual for vacation or sick. That stays the same. That's why they made the distinction of above allocated hours. Any questions on the salaries?
No?
Okay, and then on the telephone expense, we budgeted $9,620, and about $6,800 of it is Nextiva, $1,900 of it is V2 or Proficient, and $800 is miscellaneous. And then for the maintenance account, 2120, we budgeted 8581. And the vendors are Blake's, the elevator has to be signed off every year, Safe Side, and the Caltronics Inc. and Inland. And that makes up the 8,500. And on building maintenance, that's account 2140. We budgeted about 53,000, and that includes Benchmark, that's part of the elevator, and the DAJ, that's our landscaper, our lawns, and the Moreno contract, and Terminex for the pest control, and a universal building for the maintenance, nightly maintenance, and Vortex.
Okay. Do we have like our regular maintenance contract? Is there an ongoing list of things that are worked on? That
Which
we
ma-
have documented that, hey, this was fixed, and so we can look at his contract in 1 year, and we can look at all the things that were done in that year, so we can see what our money is going towards.
You're talking about the Moreno contract? When he provides the invoice, he has bullet points of the projects.
Okay.
So there are invoices
So
that
you
can...
have all those invoices that we can
Mhm.
go back and look at?
Mhm.
Okay.
So the way the invoice is provided is there's all these bullet points for these projects, and then there's a total for his,
You get like a
for the
month-
labor.
Like a monthly invoice?
Well, no.
It's per service or?
Well, no. Actually, last year, I think he submitted 3 invoices for the whole year, and this year he's trying to give us one every quarter. I would like to see it monthly, but we've never gotten it that way.
Well, it seems like monthly would be easier to keep track of what we're spending.
If he's doing stuff monthly.
Well, how often does he do maintenance?
I don't keep track of that. I don't manage that.
Okay,
Yeah, I don't know that he's there monthly.
okay.
And the next account, the memberships, 2170, that includes the CLA and the ALA and Friends. And the CLA and the ALA is a lot of money. And then the next account, 2180, books and subscriptions. That's, we did budget for Encyclopedia Britannica, but we're getting that free from a state grant. Yeah, so, and then the junior library, and then the OCLC, and the Califa, and the Tumbleweed make up those books and subscriptions for $7,800. And then we have equipment under 1,500. And I was just given an amount to budget with no detail. And then we have the accounting, 2235. 13,000 is for Solano County services, and the 11,000 is for Gilbert audits, for a total of around 24,000. And then we have 2245, which is contracted services. That's the City of Dixon, and Splash, and NorthNet. Splash is about 67,000. NorthNet's about, looks like about 8,000.
So to be able to access books from other libraries in Solano County, it costs that much?
Yeah, and I believe it's just more than Solano County.
Okay.
Yeah.
to pull books from all those
That's
places.
the
Okay.
SNAP thing.
Yeah,
is-
yeah. it used to be
Yeah,
called
the
Snap,
old
and that's
Snap, it's now
Splash, yeah.
Splash.
But there's county districts that have come in,
Okay,
we're not part of,
okay. Yeah, I think I did just get some books from St. Helena.
And then other professional services, account number 2250. That's basically about 8,000 for property tax administration fees and unique management, which goes after, excuse me, unique management goes after some older fines. And then the design. I was given the directive to budget 46,000 for the design. At one point, I think that was one of our highest estimates. And then account 2261, software maintenance. Most of it is Projet. And there's some Soft Choice and Past Perfect and Adobe and Office 365. And then 2285, rents and leases. About 10,500 is the Wells Fargo Konica copier. And then there's the CIT for 6,600, and then there's the Caltronics check that we received to cover the CIT lease. And the Caltronics check to cover the CIT lease expense was budgeted in this account before I knew I needed to recognize it as revenue and not a reduction of expense. So that'll be adjusted. So this check was for the 24 periods from May 2018 to April 2020 is what it was supposed to cover. And then the last few accounts, the library audio, which is 2325. We have Canopy and Hoopla for about 5,000. And then we have NorthNet eBooks for about 2,000. And then adults for their audio is about 12,000, and children is about 10,000. And the library book rental, 2326. That's Bodart. And then our account for travel, 2335, we have 500 in there for the conference in Santa Clara. I believe the CLA conference in Santa Clara. And then for 2336, we have 3,500 budgeted in there for the ALA conference in Washington, D.C.
And who goes to that?
Catherine goes to that one, and Jim goes to the CLA.
What's the meals and refreshments for?
Meals and refreshments,
Yeah, 2337.
let me look at that. $2337.
Because we didn't know that the library had a budget for that stuff.
I know.
I don't think I have that. It might have been from last year, but I don't know. I don't have the information. I can get it to you later if you want.
Yeah, it's.
Is that like $500 or something?
540, yeah. That would just be good for us to know. I know that, when there's staff meetings to have refreshments, that there's money set aside for stuff like that we could do. I'm assuming that that's what it has to do with.
It might not.
Well,
It might have to do with the meals and refreshments when they go travel.
wouldn't that be lumped into their travel fees, into the traveling budget?
Travel expense.
I don't know.
The expense?
I'd have to
Yeah.
go
Might
back
also
and look
be
at it.
For, when we have, events outside the, like the Christmas event,
Like we do hot chocolate or
Yeah.
something
might
like
be that too.
Okay.
Yeah, it'd be good to know what that's
Yeah.
for, yeah.
So if you
So-
could get back to us what that's used for? If it's been an ongoing budget item, I'm sure we have a record of what we've used it for.
Okay. Huh. Well, according to this, last year we budgeted 540 and we didn't spend anything. Are you looking at the monthly detail?
Yeah, that's what we're looking at. It looks like. yeah.
That says ending June 30th?
And we're looking in the budget, right? That's what this
Yeah,
is right
on the
here?
budget column.
Yep.
That's ending June 30th?
Well, if you could just let us know what in the past it's been used for.
You know, yeah, I don't think that this
Okay.
is, this is for the 2018, yeah, that's budgeted out of the 2019 budget. That's what I'm looking at, correct? That's what
Yeah.
it says?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just making sure I'm not losing
Yeah.
my mind.
No, you're good.
Okay.
But they came up with a number for some reason, and so I
Yeah.
think we just want to know what it's a pretty specific number. So,
I think it's just the same as last year,
okay, well, if we could
but
find
we
out
didn't
what,
use it.
then let's find out what it was used for in 2016.
I'll research it. I don't think it's ever been used. I think it's been budgeted, and I think it goes back to Joe saying to budget, but I'll research it.
That'd be
Okay,
great, thank
yeah.
you.
And that can be as much as you can give the information to Roxanne, and Roxanne
Yeah.
can just email it
Yeah.
out, information only, to answer that question.
Is that okay?
Yeah, thank you.
Mhm.
I'm happy to report that my family contributes quite well to the
The
library funds.
Yeah. Well, and we don't have to pay that service to go out after you, so that's good too.
Yes, because you
If
know
you're
where to find me.
contributing.
I think I
Unique
have
management,
$9.90 right now.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah.
That's on public record.
Yeah, it is. You can. I don't think that will quite even buy a book, but
Yeah, just in case. Yeah.
We'll let to buy a lot of books at the Friends of the Library.
you're
True.
right, especially out of the free box.
Right.
Okay, is that it? You guys have any more questions for Gina?
I think we're good. Thank you for going over that.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Tomorrow. Drive safe. Okay, on page 49, I kind of touched on that. We had a lease contract with Inland, and there was print and machines. And so Caltronics, our CIT bank, gave us a check to buy out the lease for the machines. And remember, at last month, we spent the $6,882 for the print. And so we want to close out this contract because it was not closed out in June. There's been some interest, so we owe them $13,644.51. So anything over $10,000 I must bring to the board. So I recommend approval to finish buying out the lease of equipment, machines with Inland in the amount of $13,644.51. And the $12,240 check will cover most of it. And you have a picture of, that's on page 49, and then the next page shows you the check that we received on page 50.
Okay.
I need a motion.
Any other questions?
No.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move.
Mike.
Sorry,
Go ahead.
I said it. I'll move.
Okay, we have a-
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I as well. I need to be quicker.
Okay. Like Gina just presented the budget, which was in place. And so we're doing some line item changes that I want you to be aware of. And that's item C. And I have a little box there to show you, acting interim director was not in the budget. And so we wanted to show you that that's approximately 20,000. Liaison clerk for adult literacy, Spanish speaking was about 4,000. Services and supplies, you have the ed tech contract, which is 5,000, and it was $5,000 last year. Employees Education Board policy increase of 8,000. We have a board policy that stipulates that the library will spend up to $2,500 per employee annually, and it will be prorated if you're part-time. Currently, we have in that budget 2,000, but when we have 20 employees and 8 full-time, you can see where 2,000 will not cover the cost. It's reimbursable, but I have board policy about that. So I'd like to see that amount increase to 8,000. And then the 2,000 underneath that self-check machine budgeted, it was approved. I put in the minutes here so you could see where it was approved on page 55. Middle of the page, projects for next year included a new self-check machine. It was $17,500. It has actually arrived in August, and it was $18,500. And then page,
I'm so happy to see that I was absent from there because I thought I was losing my mind because I saw it there and I didn't remember anything about that.
I was like, where was I on June 8th?
anyway, I just, I want to provide you backup when
Yeah,
I can.
thank you. I appreciate
Well, I
it.
was there and I'm trying to remember.
Well, I saw the machine in the library.
And it's wonderful
It's-
because
yeah.
now we can, the new machine allows us not only to self-check, but run like a social page. So we can put that you two will be at the library tomorrow, upcoming events. So when people are checking out, they can see kind of what's going on in the library at the same,
that's really nice.
simultaneously.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it is nice.
And what did we do with the old system? Is that,
We have to get rid of it.
okay,
So we thought we could use them concurrently, but the plug-in would not allow that, and we didn't want to go to the expense of, because it is petering out.
okay.
And then we do have an additional expense with Gilbert and Associates. We do have a contract with them for about $37,000. This was an additional cost of $8,424.
And is this for our audits?
Yes, which on our end, Dixon Public Library has completed all of the required and requested materials.
Okay,
And so Gilbert got backed up. And so also, anyway, so we're done on our end and we're just going to wait for them, and maybe they'll come in October to the meeting to present their findings.
Okay.
So this is just for information, and because there are 2 items that are over 10,000, I do need an action. I do.
can I ask one question about the
Sure.
Gilbert Association, Associates? There's a little sentence asking or stating why for the
Uh-huh.
extra money. Will we know when the audit is, like what those things
Yes.
were that they
Yes.
had a hard time
Yes.
with?
Mhm.
They'll point that out to us and.
Yes, they'll present the findings and what, how they want to give us commendations, and then also constructive criticism.
Okay, great. Okay,
Okay, moving on to page,
Do you need-
so we need an
60.
Need a
action.
motion?
Oh, that's
You need a
right.
motion.
Thank you, because of the 2 items.
Okay. So any other comments, board comments on that? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, because now we can move the money. So the next section is new business and board policy. A lot of those I've put first reading on, but if there are any that you think that you'd like more information, or you feel like you could pass tonight, I'm trying to work with staff to have our policies updated, and my goal is to have a 2018 on most of the board policies that we have. It really makes it easier for staff to